What's going on, guys? FadeitLuie here, bringing guys a brand new video. We're gonna be doing a mid fade with a pushback hairstyle on one of my clients, so stay tuned. We started off by saturating the hair and combing everything in place, making sure we have a nice and neat canvas. We're then gonna separate the top from the sides and make sure everything's nice and neat. Now that we're done pinning the top, we're going to debulk the sides with the 3 guard all the way open. This is going to help us debulk our canvas and create our silhouette. As you can see, I'm feeding the hair into the clipper using my comb. Now that we're done debulking the sides, we're going to move on to our Goat FX and create our first guideline. We're also going to contour this guideline to the head shape so that the fade can flow better. Also, the reason why I debulked before using my trimmers to bald out is so that it doesn't jam my trimmers, because he did come in with a lot of hair. Now that we're done balding out, we can move on to our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. You want to make this guideline around 1 inch thick so you can spread the blend. Once I'm done setting in that guideline, I'm going to slightly close the lever midway and all the way close and attack that initial guideline. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to our 1 guard all the way open and create our third guideline. As you can see in here, since the hair is long, I'm using my comb to feed the hair into the clipper. We're going to use this same guard and its lever to soften up this line and get ready for the half guard. Now that we're done softening up this line with the 1 guard, we can move on to the half guard and erase the line completely. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. Also, if you guys want to support the channel, go ahead and leave a super thanks down below or follow the Instagram. I'm going back to my previous guards with the 1 guard all the way open, and I'm going to detail as much as possible, especially using the lever. Now that we're done with the lower guards, we're going to move on to our 2 guard all the way open and create our 4th guideline. We're going to use this guard to soften up this line and get ready for the 1.5 guard. Now that we're done using the 2 guard, we can move on to the 1.5 guard and erase the line completely. Make sure to use your lever when using this guard. Sometimes after using this guard, there's still a faint line, so switching over to your 1 guard all the way open and using its corners will definitely help take it out. Now we're moving on to our 3 guard all the way open, and we're going to use our comb to feed the hair into the clipper, and we're going to use this to debulk and also complete our silhouette. Now I'm using the 2 guard all the way open, and then after this I'm going to switch over to the 1.5 guard. Now I'm gonna make sure I grab some hair from the top so that it's easier to blend in. Now we're using our clipper over comb method and we're using it horizontally to debulk. We're also gonna make sure we pick up the hair at an angle. Now I'm bringing the hair over that's from the top and I'm gonna blend it into the sides, making sure that there's no overhang that looks unnecessary and unneat. Now we're switching over to our thinning shears to make sure we thin out the overhang. Moving on to the sideburns, we're going to debulk going with the grain with the 1.5 guard all the way open. Now before we line up his C-cups, we're going to detail a little bit more and then line him up and then detail some more after. When I line up my C-cups, I always start off at the bottom and work my way to the top arch using the corners of the blade. I'm also making sure I go slow enough that the hair feeds into the teeth of the trimmer, because if not, then the hair is going to shift and you won't line them up properly. Now we're going to use a little bit of shear work to make sure we cut the top evenly with the sides. When using your shears, you want to stay as consistent as possible with every cut, because if not, then it's going to be very uneven. Here I'm using my no guard all the way open to blend in my sideburns, and I'm also using my lever slightly closed. Now we're moving on to my 1 guard all the way open after using the no guard all the way open. Moving on to our shear work, we're going to start off with our first guideline in the top and then work our way to the sides. As you can see, I'm removing about 1.5 inches of hair because he did come in with a lot. We also want to make sure we cut at certain angles to make sure he gets a certain shape that he's looking for. As you can see here in the back, I'm cutting at a certain angle, and here I'm cutting at a certain angle just to make sure it could blend with the hair. Moving on to the back, we're going to use our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. Once we're done setting in that guideline, we're then going to slightly close the lever midway and all the way close and attack that initial guideline. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to our 1 guard all the way open and create our third guideline. Since the hair is a little bit longer, we're going to use our comb to feed the hair into the clipper. Now that we're done softening up this line, we're moving on to the half guard, and we're going to try to erase it completely using its lever and its corners. Now that I'm done with my lower guards, I'm going to move on to my 2 guard all the way open and feed the hair into the clipper using my comb. Using this guard and creating this guideline is going to help us connect into the 1.5 guard. After I was done using my shears a little bit on the sides, I switched over to my clipper of a comb and began to debulk, making everything as smooth as possible. Here I'm using my 3 guard all the way open, and I'm getting ready for that clipper of a comb. When using your clipper of a comb, you want to make sure you cut at an angle, just like you're cutting at an angle with your shears. Moving on to the beard, we're going to debulk it with the 3 guard all the way open, going with the grain, and then line it up through the bottom using our Gold FX. Now that we're done lining up the beard, we can move on to the front line and separate his hair from the top. As you can see, there's a lot of uneven hairs that need to be cut and lined up. So I'm making sure I make an even part, and I'm taking hairs that I do want to cut out. Now that we have a nice enough part, I'm going to switch over to my 1 guard all the way open and debulk the hairline. Now we're going to start off with our Gold FX in the middle and work our way to the sides. Of course, you always want to keep the vertical bars as natural as possible, so I'm making sure I don't go too in. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. Also, if you guys want to support the channel, go ahead and leave a super thanks down below or follow the Instagram. As you can see, we're trying to match the other side as much as possible to the first side we lined up to. Man, I feel like it's looking crispy, man. Leave a comment down below if you feel like it's crispy. Now that we're done with the cut, we can move on to our Turkish razor and Durable Premium blades and make them as crispy as possible. You always want to make sure you keep the blade at a 45-degree angle and stretch the skin as much as possible with your opposite hand. This lowers the likelihood of you cutting someone. You also want to pay very high attention to this area. Moving on to the back, we're starting off with our no guard all the way open, creating our second guideline. You want to make this guideline around an inch thick so you can spread the blend, especially when you're near the occipital bone because the hair is pretty much a lot denser in the back. We're then going to slightly close the lever midway and all the way close and attack that initial guideline. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to our one guard all the way open and create our third guideline. We're then going to slightly close the lever midway and all the way close and attack that guideline. Now that the guideline is soft enough, we're moving on to our half guard and we're going to use our lever to erase the line completely. We are right on top of the occipital bone, so we're going to make sure we spend more time here. Moving on to our two guard all the way open, we're creating our fourth guideline and we're going to get it ready for the 1.5 guard. This guard is going to also help us create our silhouette. As you guys can see, now that the line is soft enough with our two guard, we can move on to our 1.5 guard and erase the line completely. Using our 3 guard all the way open and our comb to feed the hair into the clipper, we're going to go ahead and debulk the calic area. Again, we're going to slightly saturate the hair so it's easier to pick up with our clipper or comb. As you can see, we're using our vertical cuts to blend and our horizontal cuts to debulk. Now that we're done with the back, I'm moving back to the C cups with our gold FX, and I'm making sure I detail as much as possible. Moving on to the other side of the C cup, we're going to use our corner of the blade to go as slow as possible and make sure that the hair fits into the teeth of the trimmer. Moving on to our shear work, we're going to saturate the top and create our first guideline in the middle of the capitus. You always want to make sure the hair is nice and laid down in the direction the hair is growing so you could get a nice and even cut. As you can see, we're making our way to the sides and we're following that same guideline we made right across the middle. Again, I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. Also, if you guys want to support the channel, make it keep going, go ahead and leave the super thanks down below or follow the Instagram. As you can see, we're using our thinning shears to thin out the hair as much as possible. Since my little brother's hair is very straight, we're going to give it some texture. Here we're grabbing the hair near the parietal ridge and we're cutting it at an angle, and this is going to thin it out and making sure that the parietal ridge isn't too thick. Never forget those finishing details. I'm going back to my previous guards, making sure I get as many dark spots as possible. Again, I'm laying down the hair with the comb and then I'm picking it up with the comb, feeding it into my fingers and then holding it as tight as possible while cutting it with the cutting blade of my shears. And remember, you also want to cut it at an angle, whichever angle is needed at that specific spot. Now we're connecting our guideline that we made on the top to the sides. We want to make sure he has the best shape possible and his hair is very easy to tame when he gets home. So I'm going to separate the front from the top of the capitus and also trim that up. I'm making sure that the hair is nice and damp so I can get the true length of the hair follicles. Now that we're done with our shear work, we can move on to the side taper, and we're going to use our FadeitLuie to create our first guideline. Now that we're done butting them out, we can move on to our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. Once we're done setting in this guideline, we're then going to close the lever midway and all the way close and attack that initial guideline. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to our one guard all the way open and create our third guideline. Remember, we're going to use this same guard and its lever to soften up this line and get ready for the half guard. Now that we're done with our lower guards, we can move on to our two guard all the way open and create our fourth guideline. We're then going to use the lever and its corners to soften up this line and get ready for the 1.5 guard. Before I finish up the taper, I'm going to make sure I pin up the hair so I don't cut any hairs I don't want to cut. Now I'm using my 3 guard all the way open and my comb to feed the hair into the clipper to debulk as much as possible. In order for me to make the taper as smooth as possible, I need to use my clipper over comb method and especially cut at an angle. Now that we're done with our clipper over comb, we're going to switch over to our 4 guard all the way open and begin to debulk. Here I'm using my previous guards to detail as much as possible, and I'm definitely using the corners because I don't want to go too high. Moving on to our FadeitLuie, we're going to make the back line as crispy as possible. Where I like to start off at the bottom and work my way to the top arch using the corners of the blade. Also, for the beginners, don't be afraid to move the ear out of the way, it won't hurt them. Now that we're done lining up the nape area, we can move on to the sideburn and use our no guard all the way open. Now that we're done erasing our first guideline of the sideburn, we can move on to our 1 guard all the way open and create our second guideline. Now that we're done fading the sideburns, we can move on to our FadeitLuie and line up the C-cup. I always like to start off at the bottom and work my way to the top arch, especially using the corners of the blade. And you also want to go as slow as possible, making sure that the hair feeds into the teeth of the trimmer, because if not, then the hair is going to shift and you won't line them up properly. Here I'm detailing the beard some more, and I'm also using my 1.5 guard to debulk. Going back to our FadeitLuie, we're going to line up the back of the beard and we're going to make it as crispy as possible. You also want to be very gentle here because the skin is very delicate in this area. Before we line him up, we're going to debulk his hairline with the 1.5 guard all the way open. Now that we're done debulking his hairline, we could use our gold FX to start off in the middle and work our way to the sides. Again, you want to make sure you take your time here and make sure that the hair feeds into the teeth of the trimmer, because if not, then the hair is going to shift and then you won't line them up properly. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. Also, if you guys want to show some extra support for the channel, go ahead and leave a super thanks down below, or go ahead and follow the Instagram. When you're lining up the bottom of the mustache, you want to make sure you're very light-handed because you could nick them with the teeth of the trimmer. Now that we're done lining up the mustache, we can move on to the bottom of the beard. We're going to start off at the middle and work our way to the sides. I wasn't able to get the razor work on camera, so you're mainly going to see me work with the trimmers.